For today, we are talking about the 1939 film Love Affair, starring Irene Dunne and Charles Boyer. Now, going in, I had absolutely no idea what this movie was about. I know it was from the 30s. Again, this film was made in a time when censorship was starting to become a big thing in cinema. So, again, I knew very little about this film. The only thing I knew was the premise, and the premise of the film is that it's about two characters who fall in love on a cruise ship, and they're both engaged to other people, and it's pretty much a love story. Now, coming in, I knew it wasn't going to be Casablanca, if you will. But then at the same time, watching this movie, I think it definitely goes up there with Casablanca. I mean, again, this is the golden age of Hollywood. I mean, Casablanca is like, your top tier love story, one of the greatest love stories ever told. So I didn't think this was compared, but this holds its own. And it really has an intriguing storyline, even though not a lot happens. Again, this is the beginning, like I said, of censorship in Hollywood. So the fact that this movie is about a love affair is very scandalous because, again, if you know your film history, during the censorship era, there were certain rules that you had to abide by in order to make a film. Like, you couldn't have adultery. You couldn't have premarital sex. You couldn't have all these things shown in your film. The good guys always had to win. You couldn't idolize or glorify evil or wrongdoing. So the fact that you have this love story based upon a love affair when two people are committed in a relationship are engaged to other people is very scandalous. And the fact they pull this off in such a sleek manner really says wonders about the film. Now, watching this movie, I've noticed so many films that have borrowed from this film and really captivated what they made with this film. Not so much like with Casablanca, where you have films that blatantly just rip it off and just completely ruin themselves. Like, prime example, which I've said before, like with Casablanca, you have movies like Out Cold that completely steal the subplot of Casablanca. And I guess the producers, when making that movie, were like, nobody who watches this movie will have ever seen Casablanca, so it'll work. And again, if I saw that movie back in 2004 when I first saw it on the shelf at Blockbuster, I would have probably loved Out Cold even more than I already do. I think it's a very fun comedy. But knowing I've seen Casablanca on the big screen and really loving the film, you kind of see they kind of just completely ripped off of it. But this film is different because, yes, films have borrowed from this, but they've done so subtly that it really enriches watching this movie, especially from present tense with, the hindsight behind it and seeing not only what this film is, but the films that it went on to inspire. Like, I see a lot of Richard Linklater's Before trilogy in this film, and in my opinion, that this film definitely inspired and helped mold the Before trilogy. Now, again, Linklater said that, Before Sunrise, the first in the trilogy, was inspired by a night he spent with a girl in Philadelphia. Now, that might be true, and that's where his inspiration came from, but I definitely see sprinkles of this film in there. And again, I can't say how great this film might have been back in the 1930s when it first came out, but I can say that watching it now, it holds up. For a film that really nothing really happens, it manages to maintain your interest and keep you invested in this film throughout. The ending is different than I expected. I was expecting a vastly different outcome than what we got, but what we got definitely works and speaks wonders about censorship again, with always having a happy ending. And I think that really kind of plays out that golden Hollywood kind of tale. But again, like I said, this film, not a whole lot happens, but at no point are you bored. Like, even in the most dull scenes and, minute moments, they still have this great chemistry amongst the actors, and they manage to pull off and make a magical moment or a magical movie because everything just flows so nicely. And the charisma of Michelle, Charles Boyle's character, is just so overwhelming that you can't help but root for his character, and you really want to see what happens next. Overall, I would definitely recommend this film if you are looking to expand your cinematic horizons. Again, it's made in the 1930s. It definitely is a different style of film, so this is not something I recommend to everybody because not everybody is going to like this film. It's one of those films that if you are into that subgenre of film or looking to more explore in the historical films of cinema history, definitely want to check out. One that without question holds up and is one of my favorite classical films now. Have you seen it? What are your thoughts? Comment below. Let me know. I would love to hear what you guys think.